Welcome to our intro to algebra vocabulary. What we're going to start off with are the three big chunks that we're going to be focusing on throughout this unit: expressions, equations, and inequalities. We're going to talk about what makes an expression, what makes an equation, what makes an inequality, and what they look like. Expressions do not have a comparison symbol, like the equal sign, or the not equal sign, or the less than or equal symbol, or the greater than or equal symbol. There is no comparison symbol. So for example, if we had something like x plus 3. Can you solve what x plus 3 is the way that it's given to us right now? We can't. There's no way for us to actually solve this problem unless we're actually told what x is. Then we could fill it in like we've practiced before with evaluating expressions. But as it stands right now, we are not able to actually solve this problem. Another example of an expression would be something like 3x. Using 3 a lot, but we can't solve it, right? We don't have a comparison symbol. There's no way for us to figure out what the value of x is as we're given it right now. Equations, on the other hand, do have a comparison symbol. They have the equal sign as the comparison symbol. For example, if we had x plus 3 equals 5, well, you could totally figure out what x is, right? We could go through this process to sort it out. I bet you can even figure it out in your head right now. X is 2, right? An equation allows us to truly be able to solve for x. Same thing, we could add on to that by saying 3x equals 15. Well, you guys, we know that a number next to our variable needs to multiply. So 3 times what gives us 15? We could figure that out. And as we get to more complex problems, we'll use these building blocks to help us get there. And then our last one we're going to work with throughout this unit are inequalities. I want you to think back to elementary school with the alligators. Our inequalities are our less than or equals to symbol, our greater than or equal to symbol, and then of course our not equal to symbol. So if we said that x plus 3 is greater than 5, well, we would have to figure out what are the possibilities that x could be, because x plus 3 has to be bigger than 5, or 3x is less than or equal to 0. Going through those scenarios, we'll learn how to solve those a little later throughout this unit. Okay. So there we have expressions, equations, and inequalities. Now what we're going to look at are the different parts to equations, and then essentially the different parts of inequalities and expressions as well. We kind of already talked about some of these in class, but here we go. We have a number next to our variable, all right? The number next to our variable is called our coefficient. Coefficient. See if I can fit that in there. There we go, coefficient. And then of course our unknown, our letter, is called our variable. All right, so there we have those. And then we've got this little nugget out over here to the side. I want you guys to notice that it's off to the side from our variable. We have a plus sign that keeps it at that separates it from our variable. We might have a minus sign that separates it. This is called our constant. Okay, and I remember in school having trouble remembering which was which. So here's my way that I remembered them when I was y'all's age. Okay, my coefficient. I want you to think about an airplane, right? We have a pilot and then we have a co-pilot. They are sitting right next to each other as they fly the plane. Our coefficient is like our co-pilot. It is right next to our variable, just like a co-pilot is right next to our pilot in an airplane. So coefficient, co-pilot, right next to the variable. Our constant, okay, let's get real, you guys. Who has a brother or sister, a sibling that is maybe like my siblings were growing up, annoying? Does anybody have any annoying siblings? Okay. I want you to think about this number over here, our constant, like our constantly annoying sibling. I don't know about you guys, but I always wanted to keep my constantly annoying sibling away from me, kind of like what we have here. Our constant is not right next to our variable. We're always going to have something separating it, an addition sign or a subtraction sign. So our constant, we might remember that as our constantly annoying sibling. Sorry, siblings. Constantly annoying sibling. Okay. So our coefficient, our co-pilot, right next to our variable. Our variable is our letter, our unknown, and then our constant is kept at an arm's distance, right? It's not next to our variable. Okay, then what we've got next, together we have a term, right? This chunk together, that 3x, oopsies, that 3x is a term. It is not erasing. Why is it not erasing? Hello, come on. Come on, there we go. It is a term. Okay, and then technically this little nugget right here is also a term as well. We have two terms, two chunks that make up what we're working with here. All right, and then we have this section right here. So if we were to take our hand and cover up this equals 20, what we have is 3x plus 5. And remember, if all we have is 3x plus 5, what we have is an expression, because we're talking about maybe not including that equal sign. Remember, an expression does not have any kind of comparison symbol, but the lunch bell, oh well. What we have here, if we include the entire nugget that we're looking at, 3x plus 5 equals 20. This equals 20 now makes this an equation that we are working with. All right, so if we do not have a comparison symbol, it's an expression. If we have an equal symbol in there, we now have an equation. These are going to be the building blocks as we move forward, learning about expressions, equations, and inequalities. We're going to hear the terms coefficient, our co-pilot, right next to our variable. We're going to hear the term variable, our unknown, our letter in our problem. And we're going to hear the vocab word constant, right? Our constantly annoying sibling, keeping it at an arm's distance, either adding or subtracting something in our expression, equation, or our inequalities that we'll work with later in this unit.